Yeah, as I mentioned, the first thing we'll do is we'll go over the 1.27 release, and then we'll discuss the upcoming Hummingbot launch event next month at Consensus. After that, we'll go over the results of the Epoch 8 polls, which determines how much maintenance all the connectors in our code base are going to get for the next quarter. And finally, last but not least, I'm going to hand it over to the folks from Cube to present information about their new spot exchange, which was added. The connector was added to Hummingbot in this last release. Let's get started on 1.27. The main thing added was new versions of some of our new V2 strategies. So we now have a funding rate arbitrage strategy that allows you to find differences in funding rates across two or more perpetual futures exchanges. So it'll scan for the basically just pass a list of tokens, a list of exchanges, and I'm trying to find the best combination for doing arbitrage across them. And if there is one that meets your minimum profitability, it'll put on that trade and it'll try to capture that difference over time. So check out. There's also a video for it. So check out how it works as well as how to run it in Hummingbot. And the other thing we did was we added a new version of our popular cross-exchange market-making strategy, which many users have been using for a long time, to earn mining rewards and to provide liquidity on less liquid tokens. So we created a V2 version of this strategy now. So now, the V1 strategy, it was very popular, but it was very hard to customize. So the V2 one should be much easier to customize because now there's a controller that you can change, and also there's a script as well. So to check that out, I think right now there's still pro requests, and I think we'll probably create probably more content to show people how to use this strategy in the future. We ourselves have also been adjusting our QA process to incorporate the strategy so that we can use it to actually test all the different connectors that we have. I think installing Hummingbot has always been a hard issue for lots of people, especially if they're not that technical. So what we did recently was we updated the Docker installation instructions so that hopefully it's much easier for users now. Before, we had people go to a separate GitHub repo, and now you can just go into the Hummingbot repo, the one that most people go to, and then as long as you have Docker Compose, you can simply just run this Docker Compose up command, and that will basically launch Hummingbot and install with all the dependencies installed, so that for users who are not familiar with Python or with command line as much, they don't need to go and install Anaconda and figure out all the environment issues that might arise. Instead, they can just do that. And I think we think this framework allows you to scale Hummingbot more easily. So I think once you kind of learn this approach, you can actually kind of go into these more advanced configurations and learn how to auto start your strategy, launch multiple instances, and so forth, all using this Docker Compose approach. So overall, we've kind of standardized using Docker Compose for all of our kind of like installation. And so, I mean, if you're a developer, you want to really customize Hummingbot and understand how it works and build something that's more tailored for yourself, then you probably still need to install from source. However, if you're just a user and you're deploying Hummingbot at scale, then Docker is going to be the best option. We also have updated the Coinbase connector. So before we had a Coinbase Pro connector, and Coinbase has changed their API, and there are kind of like lots of things internally have changed on the Coinbase like the exchange API front. So thanks to a long-term member community, Memento, I just want to give a shout out to him. He's been putting in a ton of work over the past few months to try to keep up with all the changes on the Coinbase side and try to accommodate, because it's kind of a different architecture than many other exchanges. He's had to do a lot of work to try to make that work. So I think currently the exchange connector does work. However, I believe there's an issue with API keys where only API keys created before a certain date work because Coinbase has changed something internally with their API. So I think I would say I encourage you guys to give it a shot and post any issues related to the connector on GitHub. Overall, we want to support Coinbase, but I think that it's been challenging because it's a different exchange. They take a different approach than many other SECs out there. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, we do have a new exchange connector, Cube. It's an MPC based exchange. So it's actually a really interesting exchange, in my opinion, because it's using a lot of the same technology that DEXs do, but it's taking kind of like what I think is a really smart approach from like a legal and a compliance standpoint. So I'm really hopeful that I will be able to use Cube in the future as well. And then finally, I think one thing I want to mention with this release is that we have significantly updated the docs for the strategy V2 framework. So now, if you go to strategies, this section talks about V2 as the primary approach. So we have this section here called Flavors of Hummingbot Strategies, and this walks you through the different ways that you can define a Hummingbot strategy. So now, we currently have 4 different ways that you can do so. First is using a basic Python script. So we have a list of sample scripts that show you how to execute basic tasks, like downloading order book data, placing an order, and running very simple strategies. Next, we have kind of like a V2 infused version of that script, where so these scripts here are scripts that use V2 components, like the position executor or the market data provider, but they encapsulate all the logic in that main script itself. And then finally, we have something we call a V2 controller, where the strategy logic is abstracted from the script into a controller, and we have a few examples of controllers, and both directional and market making here as well. And then last and again, we still maintain these, but the V1 strategy templates, I think, they were used a lot in the past, but we think that they're just less customizable, and harder for users to actually kind of implement the logic they need, and less less scalable. So we recommend using V2 if you're starting out. But the main reason we wanted to do V2, and actually I want to show you something right now, because this is kind of like what we aim to demo at the consensus event next month, is basically using the dashboard, to deploy multiple strategy view controllers and to manage them a lot more easily. We're working on a new version on dashboard, and so I currently have it in this directory here. I think this is still using kind of what Freddy's thing, but basically if I do Docker compose up, so what I'm doing now is this is using Docker to pull the backend API, which is a new service that manages different instances and provides REST endpoints that any client can consume. Then we also have Dashboard, which is a client like a GUI that allows you to interact with backend API. And finally, we have a broker. The broker's job is to take the bots that backend API creates and allow those bots to communicate to the dashboard and kind of stitch everything together. So to use this, you would go to localhost 8501 in my browser. Oh, and I should mention that this Docker Compose up process, this is the same process I did just to kind of like get it up and running. It's the same process I would use to install it. So someone to use Dashboard, you would just need to do pull the image and then just run Docker Compose up. We're still working on kind of the layout here, preparing it for the official launch next month. But the overall goal is that you can do something called generating configurations. And so this is a configuration that can generate for the PMM simple controller. So some of the things I can change are the exchange, the trading pair, the total amount of quote assets I want to deploy with this strategy, and the order type and other things like this. Here is where I can change settings related to my market making strategy itself. So this is a pure market making strategy. So what its goal is to provide liquidity by placing orders on the order book, both buy and sell orders. So here is where I set the number of buy order levels, 1 or 2 or 3. Similarly, this is where I set the number of sell order levels. So let's set 3 order levels. And then here's where I set the amounts for each exchange. Actually, I'm going to change this to Kraken here because I don't have Binance Perpetual connected. I do have Kraken, I believe. Let's change this to Solana. I don't think I have $1,000. I have more like, I think I do have like $100. So I haven't tried this yet, but I'm going to try to just get this running to see if this works. But basically what I'm doing here is I'm creating configuration for a market making strategy. After I've done that, I can now download the YAML file. So this is a file here that's created. Let me show that. So this is the actual configuration file. Creating this visually a lot easier than trying to use it, edit the text file. But I think the cool part, basically what this is a configuration for a strategy V2 controller that we have here. So the controller we're using currently is the simple, is a PMM simple controller. And you can see the code if you want in our GitHub repo as well. But going back to the configuration, what I'm doing here is I'm generating configuration for this strategy. And then after I have done so, I can upload that to the backend API. And so you can see that this configuration has a name and it has a version as a tag, so I can identify, and separate it from other configurations I might want to manage down the road. The goal that we're trying to do with Hummingbot 2.0 is to make it easy for you to create a configuration for a strategy, access that by a YAML file, or by using that configuration directly in the backend API. So once you've uploaded this configuration to backend API, what you can do is you can basically just go here and select that configuration. So this is this simple Kraken Sol 1.1. This is the one that we just created. And so now using my credential, you can select the image. You can select the credentials that you've uploaded. So this is the credential that I've added previously. And now let's create this one, a community call, community call test. And then let's try to create this image. Now the backend API is going to try to basically create this instance. So we go to instances here. It looks like it's hitting some type of error. I'm actually not sure exactly what kind of error this is hitting.
The problem is that you have an older image of Hummingbot.
Okay.
That's why that controller is not working.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah, as you can see, we're still ironing out some issues in terms of deployment, but I hope you can get a preview of what it should look like when it is working. The ability to kind of like have an end-to-end flow for deploying and managing strategies, which is just much easier than the V1 of Hummingbot. So in the V1 Hummingbot, you had to kind of like really understand what a strategy, how it worked, understand how to configure all the different variables, and then use a command line client to deploy. And in the future, what we kind of envision is that you'll start with dashboard and you'll select a strategy type and use one of these pages in order to configure the strategy. So currently we have a few different pages here for different types of strategies. And we encourage you to play around with it. Fede just actually posted the link to the test repo in the chat. So I encourage you to test it out, give us feedback on it, because ideally, we want to try to have this demo go well when we do it next month. And the more feedback we can get from the community, the better. But overall, the goal is to have a strategy creator start with this, identify the data they need, and really try to analyze the strategy, and kind of actually really understand how it works. This get candles command here is supposed to actually fetch the candles that you're interested in, so you can actually kind of like understand and test it out. After the strategy is running, then you can deploy that configuration, using that configuration, and then manage your instance on this instance pages here. So hopefully that will allow people to deploy, be more confident in understanding different strategies and running them, but also to manage and deploy many more bots than they could before. For those of you who are running bot a lot, I can tell you that running one bot's okay, but when you're running like 4 or 5, it becomes almost impossible for a single person to manage using the existing framework. So we think that using this new version with dashboard and the ability to kind of monitor all your bots at scale, and to kind of tweak each one and start and stop each individual one, I think that allows a single person to have a lot more power in managing many more strategies.
Mike, if you want, I have the updated version. I can show the candles.
Yeah. Why don't you, I'll stop sharing. Yeah. Do you want to share your version?
Yeah. In the repo, I'm pushing things there, so you can make sure that you keep updating with that. But as you can see, I have like a config for a lot of the controllers that we have. So for example, now the Bollinger V1 strategy. See that here says get candles. You are going to be able to, based on the config that you have for Bollinger, pull the last updated candles, see how the strategy is like sending sell signals and buying signals. And you can, for example, customize here, say 0.8 and I don't know, 0.2, and see how the signals are turning on depending on everything, like changing the length and so. So now it's like before we have these type of controllers, but all of them were like configurable via the CLI. Now you can configure them and see like what is happening. I don't know, this one from MACD and Bollinger, that was a little bit difficult to understand because it combines the MACD plus the Bollinger bands. Now you can play around and say, okay, if I put here, now I see much more shorts. This one is my favorite from the directionals. And now I'm seeing more longs and so, and like start improving your strategy. Plus, when you are confident enough, you can just upload to backend API and so. And always you can add more records if you want. And another thing is that we support now like downloading for, let's say, I don't know, 1 hour candles, and we can pick 1 month. You can get the candles very easily. This is like for downloading the candles, for example. See how fast you can get certain candles and then download them as a CSV just to start playing around in a notebook or whatever you want. And also we have, this is more for direction, the things that we saw, but also for example, the ones that are more like market making. We have a lot of like order distributions, trying to focus on how you can create a distribution different for spread and for amount, how the break-even price looks like once you are adding more orders to your position, and so how much money you can lose. Well, there are like a lot of things that you can like customize and play around here. Like, I don't know, you reduce the orders. Well, there is a lot of much more like control over the configuration, and then obviously through the control of the deployment. And another thing that we didn't mention is that if you check the repository, this backend API, well, in the Hummingbot deploy, now I'm deploying from source, the two things, but you will see that we have a folder for the active instances. But once that instance is stopped, suppose that we stop the instance because we just finished to trade and we would like to change the config and start with another one, automatically there is a process of stopping the bot, compressing all the data and storing all the data in this like archived folder. So you can later on, you have the option to store in this archive locally or in S3. So if you have multiple servers, you can aggregate everything in S3, and then you have like a centralized reporting place. So yeah, it's like I think that is a very good improvement in terms of the usage of Hummingbot. And the other great thing for you guys is that, for example, the ones that are doing cross exchange market making, you need to create an instance, a Hummingbot instance for every bot that you want to run. In this case, you can combine like a lot not, you need to make sure that you are not exceeding rate limits or the capacity of the bot. It's like more like an engineering task that you need to do, but you can deploy a few bots in the same instance because of the new improvement of the controllers. So it's like much more scalable right now depending on the frequency that you have for your strategies. So yeah. I would like if you can test it, please read the README. It's a real README because you need to do some things like having Docker, running this bash. And the most complicated things right now is the credentials because we want to be as safe as possible with the credentials. So we don't want to expose them yet in the dashboard. And the process is that you need to generate your credentials and then move them to the repo. But well, we are working also with Drumman, that is another guy from the community, to improve the strategy performance page. That, as you can see, well, here we can see some of the of the bots that I have loaded here. I don't know, this made $11, $17, $70, and so. But these things, well, the volume, the trades, the take profit, stop loss, and so. But this is like for one database. Right now, what we are building is like an ETL process where you can pick from all the databases that you have like compressed here for all these databases. You can pick, okay, I would like to analyze this, and this. And that will have like an ETL process where then you can see the performance of each controller independently. So yeah, I don't know. That will be like something really interesting to see later on. But well, that is more for the new the version that we have right now. There is a question about what happened with the Optune implementation. I'm currently doing that part because the controllers had a refactor. Now I am doing I'm adapting all that stuff to start using the optimization and backtesting again.
Oh, cool. Yeah, thanks for that. That was an amazing, amazing kind of like preview. But basically, what we're kind of working toward is yeah, kind of really doing a demo of this full end-to-end workflow at the Consensus conference. So that's why we have this side event on May 28th. So we haven't picked a venue yet, but I think we'll try to find like a restaurant or bar to do like a happy hour probably type event at Consensus where we can give a proper demo of the V2 framework and try to invite exchanges, market makers, anyone who's at the conference come and check it out. I think we'll also try to live stream this and basically have this be our like live version of the May community call as well. So that's why, yeah, if you guys are here, please sign up for this event. It's really excited to be launching the V2 framework and this new deployment setup at Consensus. So that's why we're calling it Hummingbot 2.0. And now that we've been 1.0 since I think that was like more than 2 years ago. So I think it's a good time to kind of like put a stake in the ground and say that now we're ready for this new beginning for Hummingbot. And I do think this new version of Hummingbot is a sea change in terms of what it can do versus the previous versions. Because now I think it kind of really does give a single person the ability to manage like a fairly sophisticated quant trading strategy all by themselves. So hopefully, it kind of hopefully it brings us a bit closer to our vision of democratizing algo trading. Yeah, I want to address a couple questions before I move on. Are you planning any major changes that affect current bots? It's a good question. I would say no, because I think we kind of have the stance of like everything Hummingbot is like basically backward compatible. So if you're running a V1 strategy, you can still run it with the current setup. But it's just that the new deployment setup is going to only be available for controllers. So a V1 strategy or a script without a controller is not supported yet in the new dashboard deployment flow. We might make it backward compatible in the future versus those, but at least right now we're focused on controllers. However, the core Hummingbot instances, the actual client instances you're launching, you can still launch V1 strategies and everything else is still supported. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's more. I would say it's more like it's more management, but also I think there's more sophisticated strategies you can build in the future. And I think it's just more. It's a different framework because it's more customizable. The old V1 strategies, it's still the same underlying code from a theoretical standpoint, but it's more monolithic. It's in Python. So it's just not, I think, something that we want to necessarily have to keep on updating in the future. Cover one last thing, which is I want to cover the results of the Epoch 8 polls that just ended. So as a reminder, we have a quarterly polling process, and we've iterated on that a lot over the past couple of years. Foundation's been around, but I think we've finally got to a point where it's doing the job it's supposed to do, which is to allow the community to decide how the exchanges in the code base are maintained. The business model of the foundation is to partner with exchanges, both sexes and dexes. We have fee share partnerships with sexes, and we have sponsorships with dexes. But overall, those arrangements, if we promote the use of the code base, allows the foundation to collect fees and sponsorship revenues from our partners. Now, we've been in this for a couple of years. It's pretty much maintainable, but we want the ability for the community to decide, how these are maintained, because so that's why we make transparent how much revenues we earn from each exchange in the HBOT tracker. You can see here, this is how much we've collected for the past few months. So we had a good start to the year from a fee share standpoint. It was much higher than our levels for 2022, 23, for example. But as the bull market may be coming to an end, so we are, we're seeing that drop down a bit. However, I think the key for us is to keep our core team, lean, and that's why, from a core operational perspective, we're actually doing okay. If you look at our net income and how much we've grown our balance sheet over the past few months. But overall, we try to make things transparent in this HBOT tracker, and we try to allocate how much HBOT tokens the community has voted to allocate toward maintenance. So the overall kind of like the idea here is that we're really going to take the HBOT that you guys allocate to each exchange. We're currently the top 4 are getting HBOT allocations, and we're going to take that HBOT and create bounties for them to fix bugs, to upgrade connectors, to add candles feeds, and maybe other more marketing activities down the road. But hopefully, your votes will actually impact how well these exchanges are maintained, which results in more more usage, which results in more fee share income, which ultimately belongs to the community and the HBOT holders. So that's kind of the flywheel. And to be honest, I think we have the main model, working well, but we need to improve how well we communicate that to the community. So I think what I plan on doing is trying to drive efforts as part of my position on the board to, for instance, improve the reporting here on this HBOT tracker page, to make it more visible to the community how they can get involved and vote and actually affect usage of these different connectors and how much fee share we're generating from them. So overall, the results of the poll, all the connectors in the SEX poll met quorum, so none will be removed in the upcoming release. And OKX, Binance, Coinbase, and Kraken were the 4 exchanges that received allocations from this 1 million HBOT poll. For the DEX poll, I think only one DEX did not meet quorum. That was QPuSwap. So that connector will be removed in the next release. And the top HBOT recipients were XRP Ledger, Uniswap, DYDX, and Hyperliquid. So those 4 exchanges will be getting a share of this 1 million HBOT. And then finally, for the chain connectors, all chain connectors also met quorum. So they'll all be kept in the code base. And the winners were Ethereum, XRP Ledger, Polygon, and Injective. And we'll be allocating 1 million in HBOT bounties for them. Okay, so that's a quick just a recap of the Epoch 8 polls. And my goal is that when Epoch 9 rolls around, we'll have a more organized communication system in terms of how this HBOT is being allocated and where your votes are being used. So So this kind of ends the our public part of the community call. I wanted to invite the folks from Cube to explain how the exchange works, what makes it different from other exchanges, and how the community of market makers and algo traders can use the new Cube connector.
Hey, it's Bartosz with Nick. Thanks for having us. Super excited to talk about Cube. So what makes it different is we try to build it in a way where the custody and settlement layer is decentralized. So what that means is we build our own MPC infrastructure that settles directly to different layer ones for the exchange itself. So when you think of how can I monitor my assets, can I receive the airdrops on the exchange from the tokens that I hold, things like that, we build it actually from like first principles. So when you go on Bitcoin, for example, and you hold some runes, you can see the balance of runes for your sub account, for each sub account of the exchange in a different dedicated address. We never sweep the assets to omnibus accounts. So what that gives you is the ability to start interacting with the blockchains at a much more granular level. And the teams can interact with you on a much more granular level. Let's say maybe you have the stablecoin that generates the yield. That yield can directly appear in your Cube account, much closer to what you would see in DeFi. But at the same time, we wanted to make sure that all the assets that you are trading on Cube, they are native assets. So when you trade Bitcoin on Bitcoin network. And when you trade Ethereum or Solana, you do it on the respective networks, and there's no risk of bridges involved. And we exposed all that through the familiar API of like centralized exchange. So you can use either fixed connectivity or WebSocket and access that through the Hummingbird bot that you just got, you just merged. So super excited about it. And Nick has been working on that.
Yeah, so I think Wojak was going to demo the actual Hummingbot, and him and Roboter AI built the integration. They're a super great team, along with DipFit, have a lot of experience. So it's we've been testing it, and a lot of our markets are already being primarily market maked from the Hummingbot. So super happy with it, and excited to see it finally in the release earlier this week. And we'll start pushing it out for sure to our community.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, thanks for the intro. Wojak, do you want to give a demo of how it works?
So for this demo, I will show you guys how to connect the Cube exchange on the Hummingbot client, run the pure market making strategy, do some like changing the config on the fly, and see how the bot creating and replacing orders on the Cube exchange website. Okay. So in my screen, I have the bot already started, and on the right side is the Cube exchange website. Let's connect to the Cube exchange. So inside bot client, use the connect command and select Cube. So for this, it's very easy. You will just need to get your API keys by going to the Cube exchange website. Here, I have already been logged in. So click on your profiles, go to settings, go to the API, click the add another API here, select your account here. Make sure that you select the right permissions and click the API key. So you get the API key, just copy that, paste into the bot. Next is the secret. Just copy and paste. Next is the sub account ID. So where I can find this, just close this, go to your sub accounts, and here this number should be your sub account ID. For me, it's 3839. You can select the live staging, but for now, let's do the live. Okay, so we are connected. And in this case, let's create a pure market making strategy. We use the create command, select the pure market making, select Cube access connector. We use Solana's USDC's market. For now, just use the default settings of spread. Maybe this will be our order refresh time. Let's select 10. Let's, for the amount, use the minimum amount. For this, let's choose no, name our configurations, and then it's done. So just need to hit the start command to run the strategies. Okay. So immediately you can see the bot connect to the Kucoin exchange very fast and already putting orders on the exchange. And so because like we set order refresh very, very fast, we can do something like changing the order levels, do something like from 1 to 3, and you can see the change will be applied immediately in the next cycle. Okay. There. So you can see that it changes like immediately in the next cycles. And also like the Kucoin connectors has been integrated very deep into the Kucoin exchange. So anything like your portfolio will be sold into the bot too. For example, you can see all of my bananas here are the same as in the Kucoin exchange, and basically the same. And so these connectors have been made with like quality in mind. So it's can run pretty much very fast. And so you guys feel free to invite it to use. Make sure that to break that, and if you guys any bug, please tell me. All right. That should conclude the demo for me. So does anyone have questions about the connector?
Cool. Well, thanks for the demo. Yeah. Did anyone have questions about either the V2 framework or anything else? Yeah, I just want just addressing one question from Alex Boiler. The goal we have, I guess, with the V2 framework is number one, allow people to customize it, and also then allow more people to share their customizations. People will share them. Probably via some type of like community hub project down the road. This might be like something on our website or a GitHub repo, maybe. But overall, as you can see, the V2 framework allows you to create many more, gives you a lot more flexibility and customizations. So I think it's really aimed at, I would say, the developers, the more technical strategy creators in the audience. Now, we also have people who are just running strategies, who are just running. So the question is, I think some people are essentially asking is, if you're just someone who runs strategies and you just want to use it out of the box, how do you use the V2 framework right now? It should be easy for you to customize. Actually, if you actually are slightly technical, you want to get into it, it should help you customize. But also, I also think, it also let you. It's kind of like by having a community hub, there should be a lot more for you to pick from in the future, because we'll essentially allow people the ability to create their own versions and give them a place to upload them or make them available to the community in some form. But I think, I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do this, but I do think that a strategy is likely going to be, probably more than just a code in the future. The strategy will also be essentially the configuration page that you want users to use it, and maybe some explanation. So it's kind of like, I think the person that creates a strategy in the future is likely going to kind of write the code and also create the configuration page for the config file, so that in dashboard, so that the person, there's like an area where you can kind of go to use the strategy and then click a button and then deploy it in dashboard somehow. Deploy the Hummingbot. So that's why I think right now we're just kind of doing the first few ourselves and trying to get the community to use them, so we can get a better picture for what that end like strategy package needs to be. But overall, I think that our goal is to try to kind of currently focus more on the creator side and give more tooling for the strategy creators, with the goal of eventually having many more kind of public strategies that the community can use. But thank you very much, Wojak, for the presentation. I think that this Cube connector, I'm actually really excited about. I'm actually in the KYC kind of verification process myself, since I'm in the US. But once it's available to folks in the US in the future, hopefully I'll be able to use it. Okay, well, I think that ends the call for today. And as a reminder, we'll make sure to post a link to Fide's new dashboard kind of deployment setup repo, because we love you to try it out and give us feedback on it so we can proper official launch in exactly 1 month. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.